Welcome to King 5 Plus. I'm Greg Copeland. This is The Week, a look at what made headlines in our region, along with your weekend forecast. Police are investigating 4 deaths at 2 separate crime scenes, all connected to one family. Memorials have now appeared in front of both homes, one on Mercer Island, the other in Issaquah. Investigators say an elderly mother, her 2 adult sons, and her daughter-in-law died in a triple murder-suicide. Here's King 5's Alex McClone.
Trinkets and flowers outside of a crime scene honor a mother and her son.
She called him Nicky.
It's attracting neighbors like Melinda Moss, who mourns for her friend Danielle Cuvillier, an 80-year-old mother of 2 sons who are also both dead.
She and I met about 4 years ago because we were walking in the park.
Moss says she helped Danielle find the family's new dog for Nick, who had a severe disability.
I had a new puppy, and she had been looking for a new dog for Nick because their dog was aging, and it was a large standard poodle that Nick couldn't cuddle because it was just large, and he's a cuddler. She came up with a whole host of ways to entice him to come out. You know, they always had a dog so that they could say, "Let's go walk the dog."
Danielle would hide things in the trees to get Nick to go to the park. She changed the way she cooked to cater to his diet and enrolled him in an adult enrichment program.
This is a woman who devoted her whole life to that child.
Another memorial is budding outside the Issaquah home where police found the bodies of Nick and Danielle's daughter-in-law, Harmony Williams. Court records show the family was embroiled in a bitter and sometimes physical fight over who should care for Nick, who needed assistance with all activities of daily living. In a 911 call placed last year from the Mercer Island home, you can hear a vicious fight play out between Danielle and her older son, Mac. They were fighting over whether or not the brothers could see one another.
This is my house. I want you out of my house. And you wait for the police outside.
I'm going to wait right with Nick.
Court records show police ended up arresting Danielle and charging her with 4th-degree assault. She was never convicted. Just 3 weeks before the murders and suicide, the legal battle over Nick was resolved in court.
I've been coming out here a lot. I think I just wanted to be near her.
Melinda scrolled and scrolled, showing me the years of text messages between her and Danielle.
Look at her. She's holding his hand, you know? He's got his arm around her.
It was this summer when Melinda and Danielle talked face-to-face about the legal battle over Nick.
When she was starting to tell me everything that was happening with Nick months ago, she looked at me and she said, "You know what kind of mom I am." And I said, "I do know what kind of mom you are. And I want the world to know what kind of mom she was."
Multiple sources have since confirmed that police believe the shooter was 45-year-old Mac Williams. They believe he shot and killed his wife Harmony and his disabled brother Nick at his home in Issaquah, and then killed his mother, Danielle Cuvillier, inside her home on Mercer Island before shooting and killing himself. King 5's Maddie White shares some clues that Mac sent in an email right before the shootings.
Let go of Nick.
I haven't touched
You
him.
just did.
Back up.
Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
The same Mercer Island home where this 911 call originated last January is now surrounded by crime tape and a makeshift memorial. At the same time, we're learning new details about Mac Williams, that he was obsessed with his guns, and 3 hours before police found the bodies on Tuesday, he wrote an eerie email to friends about what to do with his gun collection after he was gone. He typed, quote, "If any or all of you want to make some effort to recover my guns and associated property, then you are welcome to it. It may require you to go into my house and see some things that you would prefer not to. Just walk away if you don't want to deal with it." On Tuesday, police discovered the bodies of Mac and his 80-year-old mother, Danielle Cuvillier, inside her Mercer Island home. An hour later, here in Issaquah, police discovered the bodies of 2 more family members, Mac's wife, Harmony Danner, and his disabled younger brother, Nick Cuvillier. Court records reveal the family was embroiled in a year-long legal battle over who was best to care for Nick. He was born with a rare genetic disorder and required full-time care. A 911 call a year prior, recorded in real time.
Are you going to allow me to see him or not? Are you going to allow me to see him or not?
Shows a vicious physical fight between Mac and his mother over caring for Nick.
She just physically assaulted me.
I did not.
Yes, you did. You just physically assaulted me.
I was looking
Back
for
the
you do.
up. Back the up.
Hello?
Let go of Nick. Let go of Nick.
I
Back
haven't
up.
touched
You
you.
just did.
Sir.
Back up. Back up.
No.
Back up.
No.
We've learned Mac ended his email on Tuesday with an apology and a goodbye, but no insight into his motive. He wrote, quote, "My interest is concluded. Sorry to part on these terms. Good luck."
Well, a New Year's surprise for drivers on Highway 2 between Everett and Stevens Pass. The roadway has reopened days earlier than expected after last month's flooding washed out parts of the road in places, covered it in mud and debris and others. Crews say the damage was extensive, but not as severe as first feared. WashDOT says most of the damage was not structural, which allowed for faster repairs on that stretch of the road. Both directions between Skycomish and Stevens Pass are now open, providing some relief for businesses that say community support helped them survive. The stretch between Stevens Pass and Coles Corner will remain a single-lane pilot car route through the end of January, and officials warn Highway 2 will remain an active construction zone for months to come.
We're in Sultan, and as you can see on Highway 2, traffic is almost back to normal as news is quickly spreading that the highway to Stevens Pass is back open.
Our Reubens are top sellers.
Along Highway 2 in Skycomish, a packed deli is a welcome sight.
It's great. We got some action. People are having fun. They're getting up to the mountain. I know the smiles on those people's faces are for real.
Last month's storms triggered landslides that shut down Highway 2 between Skycomish and Stevens Pass.
We got a good dose of luck to have things go our way, to be in a position to open up this stretch of highway.
Last week, crews discovered the damage to the roadway wasn't structural, allowing Highway 2 to reopen weeks ahead of schedule.
Last night, got a notification, open at 6 a.m., so cut New Year's plans short and went home, packed up the car.
But the closure wasn't painless for businesses along the highway that depend on winter travel.
Just toasted or plain?
Connie Cunningham works at Lusky's Deli. She says there were moments when the doors were close to closing and the community stepped in.
They call and say, hey, we're going to come up support you, and they give the help $50 tips. It's really nice.
Cunningham took 2 weeks without pay, so her coworkers wouldn't have to worry.
Hot chocolate? I don't need to work. I just do it to get out of the house, So they need the money. They have children, families.
And today, just hours into the new year, they're back open and working, confident they can handle whatever comes down the road in 2026.
That was overwhelming. That was really cool. Wow, that many people paid attention and really care.
Highway 2 isn't totally in the clear yet. East of Stevens Pass, things start to get a little more complicated with piloted traffic just during certain times of the day. Major repairs are still needed, but that won't come till later in the year. In Sultan, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Well, the Trump administration says it is freezing federal child care payments to all 50 states following a viral video that alleges widespread fraud in Minnesota. Right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley claims he visited child care centers receiving federal and state subsidies and did not see any children there. And now Somali community members in Washington state say they're dealing with the fallout from that video. King 5 immigration reporter Sharon Yu breaks down how people in and around Seattle are responding.
The South King County area is home to the third largest Somali population in the U.S., following Minneapolis and Columbus, Ohio. So when providers started reporting harassment in our state, officials took action.
This is the viral video from right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley that started it all. The guerrilla-style door knock video shows him visiting daycares in Minnesota that are reportedly receiving funding from the federal government. He demands to see the children, and this is apparently inspiring people to do the same in Washington state. On Tuesday, Attorney General Nick Brown issued a statement condemning these actions, saying, quote, "Showing up on someone's porch, threatening or harassing them isn't an investigation. Neither is filming minors who may be in the home. This is unsafe and potentially dangerous behavior." 30,000 or so Somali Americans live around the South King County area. Mohammed Abdi, a Tukwila City Council member, says right now the community is in fear.
I've spoken to a lot of working families that are doing daycares, and they're very frightened right now. They're very scared, because they want to protect themselves, and they also want to protect the children.
He says leave the investigations to the professionals like the Department of Children, Youth, and Families.
If there's fraudulent things that are being done, by all means, look at that, and we don't stand with that. Look at that carefully.
DCYF said in a statement they take fraud seriously and that DCYF conducts unannounced site visits at every licensed childcare provider at least once a year. They also said they conduct random audits to confirm payments made to providers.
People cannot be pulling up to people's private property unannounced and not invited. It creates a harmful environment. It creates a lot of fear. It creates a lot of anxiety. And, this is why, as a council member, I want to speak out and change the narrative.
DCYF says providers who list Somali as their primary language only take up about 2.6% of the entire provider profile in the state. In the newsroom, Sharon Yu, King 5 News.
When we come back, home for the holidays after all. Family is there to greet a Puyallup man freed from ICE custody after 2 months. First, though, meteorologist Adam Claiborne has a look at the weekend forecast right after this.
Hey there, everyone. Meteorologist Adam Claiborne here with you going into the first weekend of 2026. And, well, we did see things pick up, especially throughout the month of December with a lot of rain. That definitely helped out with our drought conditions. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But we're also going to have to go over those king tides, when they're going to happen, and also just the continued active pattern now that we have in place, which could lead to more mountain snow heading on into next work week. First, I wanted to show you this late drought monitor that we had in late October. Now, you can see the drought conditions we had, tans and reds, oranges popping up there. Now, this is the latest one that we just got earlier this Wednesday, and where you see that yellow shading, well, that's not technically drought. That is where we have abnormally dry soil, and typically means we're going into or coming out of drought conditions. And in this case, we are coming out of drought conditions here on this side of the mountain. So west of the Cascades, we're doing pretty good. Of course, east of the mountains could be doing just a bit better, but we're going to keep things active. So we're going to add more moisture to this soil and start to pick things up a little more too as far as temperatures are concerned. Saturday and Sunday highs will be back into more of the low 50s before cooling down into next week and bringing those lower snow levels, which up here around Snoqualmie Pass, get ready for more of that snow to come as we head on into next week. Same can be said here around Mount Rainier. Looking up at Paradise too will be exciting to see. Temperatures here as we head on into early tomorrow morning will be more so around the 40s as some of that rain will be pushing its way on through. Now, that's all part of this bigger system that's going to be working its way through the area. Now, it's spinning just off of the coast. You can see some deeper moisture off to the south. We'll expect more rounds of that too, as that spin of low pressure that you see just off of the North California coast will be heading more so towards us. Now, with that, of course, we might see some higher waves, and yes, the high tides will go along to help bring some higher water levels there out towards the coast. So for Westport, we're talking about between the dates of the 2nd through the 4th of January. That will happen more towards the middle part of the day. La Push, more late morning, same dates there. Port Townsend, we're talking the 3rd through the 5th, and then that looks to be more before sunrise. Same for us here in Seattle. As you can see, those dates will be between the 4th and the 6th. As we look at futurecasts here over the weekend, showers coming on through. We'll get a wave early into Saturday morning as we head on into about 5 to 9 o'clock. Then about noon, we'll see a lot of that lift northward. Another round coming in towards the evening, 6 to 7 o'clock, and that will be with us here as we go throughout the nighttime hours. And you can see some heavier battles of rain coming through into Sunday. So some periods of heavier rain, also some breezy conditions, especially once we head on into Sunday. Amounts here for the next 2 to 3 day stretch between about 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So a good soaking rain will be ahead for us. And once we get these snow levels to come down after Sunday, even more, down to around 2,500 feet or below, well, check out what that will mean for us. First, wanted to show you this system working its way in from off of the coast. That's coming in for more out of the west. You can see these next few systems are coming from more the northwest, and that's really going to help to bring in a colder pattern and set up for more of this mountain snow, which looks to be really good for us as we head on into the next 6 to 7 day stretch. We're talking about closer to 2 to 3 feet of snow will be possible. And temperatures, they're going to start dropping a bit more too, with highs more so into the 40s here in the lowlands. 7-day forecast, it's going to be a milder weekend with highs in the low 50s both Saturday and Sunday. Afterwards, things will be a bit cooler. All right, everyone, try to dodge the rain and keep an eye out for some of those king tides, and have a great first weekend of 2026.
All right, welcome back to the week. Grief and anger filled a Mason County courtroom this week. The family of a man killed on Christmas Day says justice is slipping away after the suspect charged with murder was released from custody. King 5's Connor Board was in the courtroom in Shelton for that arraignment.
He killed his best friend. What's he going to do to somebody he doesn't like?
Heartbreak and anger were felt Wednesday inside the Mason County Courthouse.
Do I have Tyler Hess?
Tyler Hess is charged with second-degree murder, accused of killing his friend of more than 10 years, Kyle Olson.
And he killed the kindest person we all know. My son was so kind.
Kyle was a father, husband, and beloved friend to many. Those friends and family packed the courtroom.
Full of life, happy all the time, kind.
Hilarious. I mean, the guy
hilarious.
was a jokester.
Kyle had friends and family over to his home in Tahuya on Hood Canal on Christmas Day. Court documents state that around 8 that night, Hess and Olson were roughhousing in the yard. That's when witnesses say Hess shot Olson in the stomach. Witnesses also told deputies Hess was very intoxicated and had no reason to shoot Kyle. They said they were able to take the gun from Hess and detain him until deputies arrived, while also trying to help Kyle.
They were able to stay with Kyle, and it was real shortly after that. His wife said that his eyes rolled back in his head, and that was it.
My mom called me, and I thought she was joking. I was waiting for a stupid joke. I'm still waiting for the joke.
Prosecutors asked for bail to be set at $750,000, but the court set it at $100,000. Hess was able to post the money last week and walked out of jail.
I'm pissed. I'm absolutely freaking livid. My cousin was killed in front of his family, and that son of a gets to walk around like it never happened and acts like it didn't happen.
Hess pleaded not guilty to the crime.
Ask the court to enter a plea of not guilty.
Right now, Kyle's family doesn't feel like justice is being served.
He should not be out. He should not be out walking amongst the public. It's not fair. He took Kyle's entire life. He shouldn't get one. He shouldn't get one.
But say they will continue to push forward.
We're broken. We're hurt. We just want justice.
As of right now, Hess's trial is set for March. In Shelton, Connor Board, King 5 News.
Well, most of western Washington has now dried out following the storms that flooded several communities last month. But as King 5's Christian Baldera shows us, one Lake Tapps neighborhood is still dealing with a flooded road, and residents say it's unclear who's responsible for fixing it.
On Lake Tapps Drive East, the road is flooded,
I'd say you'd probably be up to your waist.
but the neighbors seem to be making the most of it.
You want to try it?
Inflatable sharks and rubber ducks are floating on the water.
And there was a chicken on the other side earlier. Is it still there?
Jared Swears even took a boat out.
We like to call it a pond. It's sort of just been a slowly expanding puddle.
The water is currently blocking his driveway.
We just put up a sort of a plastic burrito to try to stop it in case it kept rising.
For some on the block, it's no laughing matter.
It's flooded, but it never got up this high before.
The water's been here for about 2 weeks, and the flood's been growing ever since.
The best way to walk through the flooding here is along the fence, but it's not really advised as there's some potholes that you may not notice, which can get pretty deep.
Jared's watched at least 10 cars get stuck.
We've enjoyed the excitement. We got little kids and they like watching the tow trucks come and the fire department come.
The culprit? A clogged culvert on private property, which Pierce County says isn't their responsibility. That's left neighbors frustrated.
I just think that this is a county road, it's a county issue, and it needs to be fixed.
So for now, the neighbors will try to have some fun, put up with the detours, and simply wait until the property owner manages to clear it out. In Lake Tapps, Christian Balderas, King 5 News.
Well, as law enforcement stepped up drunk driving patrols around the holidays, legislators are now also revisiting how the state addresses impaired driving. A DUI crash survivor has joined the push, hoping his story will help to change some minds. Olympia Bureau Chief Drew Mickelson has the interview and the data lawmakers are considering.
Really make sure your heel position is like where the white kind of meets the volume, I think.
Josh Jackman's happy place.
So put your left foot there.
Coaching climbing at Spokane's Wild Wall.
There you go.
20 years ago, he was on the wall.
In between climbs, you have a break. What are you going to do during that break?
Today, Jackman coaches from his wheelchair.
Climb with your eyes.
Offering advice from experience.
And according to the State Patrol report, they were going 86 miles an hour.
In July of 2007, Jackman nearly died.
I remember kind of a loud noise. I can remember feeling hot And then for me, I wake up in October.
For more than 2 months, he was in a drug-induced coma, recovering from broken bones and internal injuries. The driver who ran into him died upon impact. That man was drunk. Impairment plays a role in more than half of the state's deadly crashes, which have climbed to rates not seen since the 1990s. A bill to lower the state's blood alcohol content threshold from 0.08 to 0.05 will be debated again in Olympia next year. Utah is the only state with that level, but more than 150 countries, including parts of Canada and Mexico, use that standard. State and federal research suggests there is impairment at 0.05. What does it take to get to that level? Well, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says for drivers on an empty stomach over a 2-hour period, for a male, somewhere between 3 and 4 drinks, and for a female, more like 2 or 3 drinks. According to newly released research from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission, when people were first surveyed about the law change, 54% supported it. But after learning more about what lowering the BAC could mean, 71% were on board.
It's not like a huge cultural shift to get people on board with this.
Josh Jackman thinks tougher laws and a lower threshold might have prevented his crash.
It's not going to change consumption, and it's not intended to. It's going to change your driving behavior. And you're like, oh, 0.05, huh? Not 0.08? Oh, let's make a plan before we go out. Then you want to get as much as your body over that heel.
For Jackman, coaching climbing gives him a chance to support his community. He looks at backing this push for a tougher DUI law the same way.
That community, and this is, this is also a part of community. How we choose to be responsible for each other, how we take care of each other, how we protect each other.
Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
A Puyallup father who was taken into ICE custody outside a local store is now back home. His family tells King 5 immigration reporter Sharon Yu they feared he would not make it home for the holidays.
ICE arrested the man in early November outside of a Lowe's in Puyallup following directions from the Trump administration telling ICE agents to target big box stores.
Their first hug in 2 months was captured on video 2 days before Christmas. 24 hours before, a federal judge ruled Julian Vicente Ortiz Velasquez should be released from ICE custody. Vicente says this is all he thought about the last 60-plus days.
Salí de la luz como 4 o 5 millas.
With his work truck full of lumber, Velasquez left this Lowe's parking lot and drove onto South Fruitland in Puyallup on November 4th.
6.
The other vehicles surrounded me. There was about 6 of them.
All unmarked?
All unmarked.
ICE says they arrested Velasquez because he is in the country illegally and has been returned to Mexico on 3 separate occasions in 2021. But Shauna, his wife, says her husband has filed to stay both via seeking asylum and through his marriage to her. Despite that, he walked out with an ankle monitor.
So even though he has no criminal history, definitely is not a flight risk, has a wife, children, a whole life here. They want to know where they're at. So there he has it's not necessarily like a house arrest because he can go anywhere. He just can't leave the state.
Velasquez says his heart aches for those still inside.
For their families not to leave them alone in there, to make sure they go and visit them and spend time with them. There's a lot of people in there that he witnessed their families didn't come out of fear.
Like many others who were released from ICE custody, Vicente is wearing an ankle monitor. This is something that he will have to keep on until he can prove to ICE that he is either not a flight risk or his immigration case comes to a conclusion. In the newsroom, Sharon Yu, King 5 News.
And we want to thank you for your time. We hope you enjoyed a look at the biggest stories of the week.